Hi guys, I am the founder and director of Protect Our Baddies. I am also a survivor myself. I was kidnapped for the purpose of being sent to a foreign country for trafficking. As you guys can see, that plan was not fulfilled. I am now part of the 0.02% that escapes. Protect Our Baddies is originally an e-commerce shop where we sell self-defense weapons, but we wanted to branch out to YouTube to dedicate a channel to survivors and their stories. I believe that these stories will bring impact, awareness, unmasked deception, and hopefully inspire you guys. Our Protect Our Baddies shop is currently funding all of these projects. So if you haven't shopped with us, go check us out. We have tasers, self-defense keychains, knives, so much stuff, literally the cutest weapons ever. We are planning to go to new states, so just know that you are helping us fund these powerful projects and being part of the movement. Thank you guys. Enjoy the video.
Hi, my name is Marianne, and I'm a survivor of human trafficking in the sex industry, and today I'm going to be telling my story. So I was born and raised in Lompoc, California, and I had a really good childhood growing up. We went on family vacations every year, and we ate dinner together as a family every night. But I was always a rebellious child. At 16, I got pregnant with my first son, and I gave birth to him when I was 17. When I was 19 years old, I married a man who was 16 years older than me. He was a firefighter for Las Padres National Forestry, and I thought that he could offer us a good life. He did not look like he was 16 years older than me. I was already living with him for about 4 months when I was washing his clothes and I found his ID. He was actually a completely different person than who I thought he was. He lied about his name, his age, his birthday, everything. And like I said, I was already living with him. He celebrated his birthday on a different day than what his birthday was. Yeah, it was weird. Throughout our marriage, he lied so much that you just couldn't believe anything that came out of his mouth. And so I think that it was just like an issue for him, a compulsive liar. So I feel like from such a young age, I was already manipulated by a man, which made it continue down the line of it being so easy for men to manipulate me. So we were with each other for a total of 9 years, and he abused me throughout the entire 9 years. When I finally got tired of it and I told him that I wanted to divorce him, he flipped out and he tried to kill me. He came in the house with the knife tucked up underneath his sleeve. My friend was sitting on the couch. She saw the flash of the blade and she got up and ran out the front door. I just was making a bottle in the kitchen for my baby, and I put him in the little walker while I was making the bottle, and he came into the kitchen and flung me around and just started screaming and yelling at me. He pulled out the knife. When I realized he had a knife, I ran out the back door, ran to the neighbor's house. He was just walking so calmly, like he knew he was gonna get me, or maybe he just wasn't, I don't know what was going through his head, but he was walking pretty slowly. And so somewhere along the line of him walking to the neighbors, he ditched the knife and got a pair of these huge hedge clippers. While I was at the neighbor's house and I was telling them to call 911, he came up, and as he's yelling at me, when my friend went out the front door, she went and called 911. And so as he's lunging at me with these hedge clippers, he comes so close to my face with them. I'm moving back and he came so close to my face. And the police walked up and watched him do that. And so they immediately arrested him. I didn't even have to press charges on him because they had seen everything. So the district attorney just picked up the case, and he got sent to prison. And that is the last time that I ever saw him. He was abusive the entire 9 years. Looking back on it, because later on down the road, I ended up being abused way worse, and that was nothing compared to what was in store for me later on in life. But at that time, I was so young and it was so traumatic, you know what I mean? He's pulling me down the hallway by my hair, slapping me. He was very good at not putting bruises or marks where other people could see. I had my first son at 16 that was not his, but I met him when my son was about 3 months old. And so he pretty much raised him like it was his own. And then my other 3 are all from him. Yeah. So it was like he kept me pregnant every 2 years so that I wouldn't leave him. Now, he would bring that up all the time. You've got 4 kids. Who's going to want you? Nobody's going to want you. I think that played a lot of the reason why I was, stayed with him for so long. Like, I would think, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like, who's going to want me with a bunch of kids? So when he was arrested and sent to prison, I was finally able to move on with my life. But he had left me with back rent, and I had fallen into depression. So with the combination of the two, I was quickly on the streets. I really had fallen into depression, and I started using methamphetamine to help me get out of bed every day. day. I ended up moving to Bakersfield after all of that because I had a friend that used to be my neighbor, and she lived out here, and she had talked me into coming out here to visit her. So Lompoc is such a small town, so when I came to visit her out here in Bakersfield, I was in complete awe of how big Bakersfield is. I thought for sure there was way more job opportunity out here versus Lompoc, so I went ahead and I made the move. I was living with my friend when we ended up getting into a big argument, and she ended up kicking me out. At that point, I had to move into a hotel room with my kids, and that was just so expensive that I just could not afford it. I ended up hooking up with this guy that I had met. We started talking. He asked me to move in with him. It seemed like a perfect fit because he needed somebody that would come in and clean up his house and put food in the house, and I needed to get my kids off the streets. But what I didn't know when I moved in is that he had a CPS case going on with his own kids, and that he had tested dirty for them. So one day, my kids and I were at the house. He was at work and his kids were with their mother, and CPS came to the house to remove his kids from the home. But he wasn't there. Only my kids and I were there. I had just put my two little ones down for a nap. My two oldest ones were watching a movie, so I thought it was a perfect time for me to jump in the shower. While I was getting in the shower, the cops and the CPS came knocking at the door, and my oldest son let them in. Before I knew it, they were searching the entire house, and they found a pipe in a lockbox on the top of my closet. I had never been in trouble with the police before, and they made me believe that I had to pee for them. And since I didn't have any family to watch the kids for me while I did that in Bakersfield, they slapped the handcuffs on me, and CPS took my kids. That was the most devastating thing that I've ever experienced. They just ripped my kids from me, and they never even offered me any kind of services for my addiction. Thank God for my brother and his wife. They came down from Oregon and they took in my kids. But I was left on the streets of Bakersfield all alone at that point with no family at all, and I felt completely suicidal and depressed without my kids, and that just led me farther into my addiction to numb the pain. So once my kids were taken to Oregon with my brother and they were out of Bakersfield, I was here in Bakersfield completely alone. I couldn't not live in that house that they got taken from. So I moved out, and I was on the streets. I was selling drugs to, give me a little bit of money to open up doors for me, pretty much, because if you had a sack, everybody's door was open for you. I would cry and cry myself to sleep at night. When I did sleep, if I wasn't on drugs, I was just taking the drugs to numb the pain. It stops numbing the pain after a while. It's like it just doesn't affect you like it used to. I felt so suicidal. During that time, I was arrested for many possession and under the influence charges, and I was in and out of jail. My mother ended up selling her house in Tennessee and moving to Oregon to help my brother and his wife out with the kids. I managed to talk her into letting me move in with her and move out of Bakersfield so that I could get away from the drugs and focus on getting my kids back. So I ended up moving in with her, and I was clean for about 4 months. The kids had started to come and visit with me for the weekends. I had gotten my own apartment. I got a job. They were getting ready to give me my kids back soon. And I ended up meeting some people that were using out there in Oregon, and I ended up relapsing. That was a really hard time for me because I felt so guilty because, like I said, I was already getting my kids back, and here I'm doing the same thing over again. And so I'm trying to cover up the fact that I'm using. The CPS case was in Bakersfield, but they were having to do an interstate thing. And so CPS wasn't actually testing me. It was this program that I had entered into that was testing me. I had given so many clean tests already that at that point they weren't even watching me pee. So I would go to the smoke shops and buy synthetic urine, and I was testing with synthetic urine and passing my test, which is why they were getting ready to give me my kids back. I had to come back to Bakersfield because I was running from some charges that I had going on here in Bakersfield. The social worker had said that I needed to come back and clear up any warrants or anything that I might have before they would even consider giving me my kids back. I came back down to Bakersfield, had gone to court to take care of a case that I had, had a warrant for. When I came down here, we had gone to the court, and they said that I didn't have a case warrant at all. And the social worker and I were completely shocked. And I'm trying to argue with them. I know I have a case. They weren't seeing it. And so the social worker's nudging me. She's like, if they say you don't have stop arguing with them about it. And so I said, okay. And then we went back to her office, and she completely trusted me at this point. And she gave me the cup to go pee. What they used to say, pop a bottle. I thought she was gonna watch me pee. And so I had popped a bottle where you put the bottle inside of you, you put aluminum foil around it, and so when you take the cup, you pop it with your nail, and the pee will go into the cup. So I took it out, and I just poured it from the bottle, like the little bottle, into a cup, and I gave it to her.
It passed.
No, I failed, and
Why?
that's what I thought. I could not understand why I had failed. I don't know if it was from me maybe sweating and it's coming out of my pores or what, but somehow, and honestly, I thought about that for so many years, like, why would that happen to me? Like, how could that even have happened? But I had to come to the realization that I think it was God, here I am cheating the system, and did I really deserve my kids back at that point? Because I really don't think I did, So yeah, that's what I've come to the conclusion of, is it was just God. And God's like, you're cheating and you're lying to everybody and you really don't deserve your kids back. I came back to Oregon. It took a little while for the test to come back. And then I got the call from the social worker that it had failed. And my family was so devastated. At that point, my brother was just done with me. My mom was done with me. My two older ones were giving my brother problems because, they knew me the most. My two little ones were super little when they got taken, and they were just rebelling against the whole thing. I can't even imagine what the kids were feeling. It was agreed that my two older boys would be sent back to Bakersfield and put into boys' homes, and my brother was going to adopt my two little ones. I wanted to be able to be in Bakersfield so that I could still have supervised visits with the kids and still make sure that they were okay. So I moved back to Bakersfield to nothing and nobody to help me out once again. I didn't keep in contact with anybody, and so I really came back to nothing this time. I did have a car from me, getting a job. So I just was me in my car, and I had one friend that would let me stay with them. It was just such a rough time. Once again, I'm feeling super depressed. My self-confidence is down, my self-worth, because I'm just beating myself up constantly. How could you do this to your kids? Like, they were depending on you, and you just let them all down once again. So that was a really, really tough point in my life. After that, I ended up meeting another guy that I had started dating. I ended up moving in with him and his family, and this man was the worst guy I could have ever dated in my life. He beat me so bad. On top of that, he would spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, everything. He abused me in every way that he could possibly abuse me.
And how old were you?
Oh, man. By this time, I was in my 30s, my early 30s. So I met him through a friend of mine. I was living out of this guy's trailer. I had already lost my car, like so many things, under the influence charges again, possession charges again. I had many of them. I was living out of a friend's trailer. A friend of mine, she had gotten locked up. This was like her ex-boyfriend. She had called him, and we were trying to get money to get her out or whatever, because they were still friends. And then he fell in love with me and started trying to get at me and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's how I met him. And I was trying to get out of that situation that I was in, because I was not trying to live in this guy's trailer. It was a dirty trailer. It was just a horrible place for me to be in. I was living in Buttonwillow, this tiny, tiny hole-in-the-wall town. And so I moved back to Bakersfield with him and his family, and that's when he had started abusing me and cheating on me. And he was like the worst person that I think I've ever met in my life. Like, he thrived on making you feel like you were worthless. You could see it in his face that he was just enjoying abusing me. He was very good looking. Like, I was so infatuated with him. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, if I could just show him what a good woman is, then he's gonna change and he's gonna do better. Because when things were good, they were really good. You know, we laughed a lot, we had, but when they were bad, they were so bad. And he would blacken both my eyes. He stomped me out. At one point, he even knocked out my 4 front teeth. When he knocked out my 4 front teeth, he took away my smile. He actually left me with 2 half pieces in the front. So for years, I would build off of those 2 half pieces with nail acrylic and sometimes even toilet paper and glue to create the look of 2 full teeth. And believe it or not, I actually got really good at that. And people were amazed that I had actually made the teeth. They looked like teeth. It was crazy. People would tell me, you need to go into dentistry or something. It was crazy. But the crazy part is that I would go to see my sons and I would go with black eyes or bruises and whatnot. Nobody even asked me if I was okay or what had happened to me. It was like nobody even cared. And honestly, I think at that point, like, I don't even think I cared. Like, that's how broken I was, and just so hard on myself. Like, maybe this is what I deserve. Maybe this is my punishment for everything that I've done to my kids. Sorry. But I honestly felt like that for a long time. So when I was dating him, he had a history of dating escorts. He would compare them to me and he would be like, this girl buys this and she bought me this. She's a hustler. She doesn't have to worry about anybody taking care of her. She gets it. And I would just say, like, I would never do something like that. Anybody that would ask, like, I would never sell myself for money. What? Like, I was raised better than that. But after years of listening to this over and over and over, beating myself up and him beating me up, and finally he got sent to prison. And I was forced to be out on the streets on my own at that point. One night I'm on the streets all alone in the rain, sitting on the steps of this rundown hotel. And I told myself I was never gonna be in that situation ever again. I had a friend. She was like, I can help you. I can introduce you to somebody that can help you make money. And I was like doing what? She was like, just come talk to him. Come talk to him and see what he says. If you decide you wanna do it, do it. If not, hey, I tried. I was so tired. I was sitting out on the steps like crying. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And so I went and talked to this guy. And he's a pimp. He's telling me, how they glamorized it by making it seem like it was so empowering, by saying like, oh, you're not gonna have to worry about money, a place to stay. You're gonna be able to do whatever you want. You don't have to depend on anybody ever again to take care of you. You're gonna be doing you. That at me and the place I was in, wow, that sounds good. I'm tired of having to depend on people. I'm tired of being out on the streets. Let's do this. Let's give it a try. He said that I would have to give him half of my money because he was providing us with the motel room and security as well. So when I started doing it, I quickly realized that it was nothing like that at all. Like, it was so completely draining, so degrading. And of course, he did not keep his end of the bargain. He would take my money, half my money right off the top. He would also collect money for the room. He would collect money for the drugs he was supplying to keep me numb. And so by the time he was done collecting and collecting, like, I barely had anything left for myself. One day, we were all in a hotel room. I had come back from seeing a date. I came back to my clothes being missing, that I had just bought new clothes. And I'm like, where are my clothes? He had multiple girls. I'm questioning the girls. Did you take my clothes? Did you take my clothes? And so I go to him and I'm like, hey, my clothes are missing. He just came out of nowhere, like screaming at me. We'd start arguing back and forth. And I'm scared of him, because he was not the kind of man that you wanted to argue with at all. So he kicks me out. And I was like, wait, what? So at first I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? And then it clicked in my head, you know what? You know how to make the money now. You don't need this guy. Then the questions in the back of my head as well, thinking like, is he really gonna let me make money though? He's gonna be mad that I'm making money and he's not collecting anything from it. Like, I was scared, like I didn't know what to do, but I needed to get off the street. So I turned a trick and got a motel room, started doing it on my own. He would come around. I would try to make it seem like I'm not making any money at all. My ex had gotten out of jail at that point, and he found out what I was doing, and he came around, and now he's wanting to mooch off of me because now I'm making money, and he knows that I'm making money. Now he's Mr. Nice Guy, he's Mr. I love you, I'm gonna change, things like that. And I was still scared at that point that my pimp was going to, or my old pimp was going to come collect money. So I felt like secure. I kind of kept my ex, I think, around because I felt like, well, he's not going to let this guy do anything to me. And so I had to live in fear for many months that he was really going to try to come and rob me or beat me or do whatever. But thank God he didn't. He ended up getting arrested for murder. And he was sent to prison for 25 to life. And so at that point, I was free. At that point, I'm still depending on this money to take care of me. I kept doing it on my own. I hated it. I absolutely hated it, but it kept me surviving. I didn't have to depend on anybody to take care of me. I didn't have to, worry about what I was gonna do or if I was gonna eat for the day or if I was gonna have a place to stay. So I continued to keep doing it. But it's always, nagging in the back of your head, like, you were raised better than this. You don't need to be doing this. But I think I was just so far gone, like emotionally and mentally, that I was just so over it. And I'm like, I just accepted the fact that this is my life now, And so.
Did you ever have like a scary experience with one of the buyers?
Every experience is a little bit scary unless it's like one of your regulars. When I first started being trafficked, my pimp would tell me that we don't walk the streets. Girls walking the streets make 2 times less than the girls that are escorting online. So thank God for that, honestly, because I never had to get into a car with a stranger because that side of prostitution is extremely dangerous. You don't know where they're gonna take you. Well, I had the security at first, then I don't have the security anymore. And so I had to be really smart about what I did. Like, I barely ever went on any out calls. Like, if you want to come to me, we're in a hotel. I really liked having an indoor hotel. So you have to walk through the cameras to get to my room. There's people in rooms on either side of you. If I were to scream, somebody's going to hear me. I made sure I was really, really smart about what I did. I always made sure I got tested every 3 months. I was always using protection. I was thinking in my head, even if I do get killed, at least that camera's gonna pick up on them and they're gonna see them. They're gonna see who did it and they're gonna catch them. I did have some experiences on like a few out calls that I went on here and there where people are weird, they're on drugs, they get a little cocky and they get a little like, aggressive, yes. Looking back, I really do feel like God just walked with me the entire time. I hear some of the other survivor stories and man, like, thank you, Lord, that never happened to me. My oldest son emancipated out of the boys' home and he moved back to Oregon and moved in with my mother. He started giving my mom problems. He was smoking weed, so she ended up kicking him out. He's living with some friends on their couch. When they go out drinking one night, on their way home, they were in a tragic car accident. 2 of my son's friends passed away, and he was the only one left in the car to survive. I think it's because he was so knocked out drunk that maybe like his body just went with it when the car crashed. I don't know, but his 2 friends did pass away. He broke his femur bone. He was in the hospital for a while, and so when he was getting ready to get out, he called me, and he asked me if he could come and live with me. And so, of course, I said yes. Like, I was going to have my son back. Heck yeah, you can come and live with me. And so I was so excited. I bought him a ticket, and he was on his way. But what I didn't think about was now I'm going to have to tell my son that I'm prostituting. I mean, of course, he's going to have questions about how I'm getting the money for us to survive, getting the money for the hotel room every day. And so that was a really, really tough conversation. But I had to do it. He was so completely shocked, and I'm assuming like just ashamed of what his mother had become. He lost all respect for me at that point. That goes on like a year down the road or so. My second son emancipates out of the boys' home as well, and he comes to live with us as well. My second son has always been like my mama's boy. You cannot say anything bad about me. Like he loved me so much. Like he would fight for me. I wanted to keep it from him as much as possible. I told my oldest son we cannot tell him. I would rent 2 hotel rooms every day at that point. One for them and one where I could keep continuing to work out of. We're gonna tell him that I'm pimping these girls. I had friends that were prostituting with me. Like she's doing the calls, but the calls come in through my phone so that, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, until he texted me one day and asked me a question. Like, what are you doing? Or something. I can't remember exactly what. It's been so many years now. And I made a response, like letting him know how much the prices were and whatnot. And he was so confused. He's like, wait, what? And so at that point, we had to tell him. And that was super hard as well. Like, things were just falling apart. He lost all respect for me too. They were just giving me problems. You know, they were just so disrespectful towards me. And so finally, my oldest son moved out on his own. He had met a girl and he got her pregnant. They ended up getting an apartment and now he's making a grandmother. My other son ended up moving in with a friend of his, and he told me that he would never love me ever again until I stopped what I was doing. He wanted me off drugs and he wanted me to stop prostituting. Honestly, like that just broke my heart. Like, I really did. And I knew I'm getting older. By this point, I'm in my 40s. I had lost hope of finding a way out. Like, what am I gonna do? I can't stop doing this because if I stop, how am I gonna pay the hotel room every day? When the boys were living with me, I was renting the 2 hotel rooms every day. Between that and the food and the things that we needed and the drugs I was using, I had to hustle about $300 every single day, no days off. Do you know that that's a total of $109,500 a year? And I did that all by myself for about 5 years before they had moved out on their own. There was no way that I could just stop and how was I gonna pay the hotel room? Where was I gonna stay? What was I gonna do? If I got a job, I'm gonna have to wait 2 weeks before I get a paycheck. And then is that even gonna be enough to cover a hotel room? You know what I mean? There were so many things that came into play that I just needed to keep doing this to survive, but I did not want to do it anymore. Like I said, I was in my 40s already. I'm gonna be a grandmother. My son's already told me that he's not even gonna ever love me or respect me until I stop doing this. And so I was so fed up. Okay, let's just backtrack just a little bit. When all that stuff happened with that urine test, I blamed God. I was like, there's no God. Like, why would God give me these kids? He knows how much I love them. He knows all this trauma that I've been through. There can't be a God. So I had cut off my communication with God completely. I would tell everybody, there's no God. There's no God. Like, I totally believed that. So fast forward back. One night, like I said, I was raised in the church. I know better. I know that there's God and whatnot, but I was just so mad. I started talking to God, and I'm like, all right, if you're real and you really love me, then I know that this is not what you want from me. I know you have a better life in store for me. So if you're real, help me find a way out. Put him to the test. Let's see what happens. I kid you not, a week later, my grandson's mother had gone to church and they were talking about a program called Magdalene Hope and how it helps women coming out of the sex industry restore their lives. So she took down their number and she came home and she's like, hey, I got this number for you. They help girls that are coming out of the sex industry that have been trafficked and whatnot. And I was like, immediately I'm like, this has got to be just for girls that are being trafficked. I'm not even being trafficked anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this on my own. They probably frown on stuff like that. So she's like, well, just Google them and see what it is. I said, all right. So I went, Googled their name, looked them up, and sure enough, it was so good that they did this because they even posted, even if you're not being trafficked and you're just in that life and you're just tired of being sick and tired, call us. I was like, okay. I got the number and I gave him a call. And I met with him a couple days later at a coffee shop here in town. And man, that day I gave my life to the Lord and I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I asked the Holy Spirit to come live inside me. And from that day on, I've been a new creation in Christ. Woo!
And you sat with Pastor
Doug, Pastor Doug Bennett. He's the CEO of Magdalene Hope, and he's a former John who gave his life to the Lord and now helps women restore their lives. And he has been such a blessing in my life. Like, we bumped heads quite a few times because I'm just, I've got that rebellion in me still. But yeah, he's been a complete blessing, and thank God for him to receive the calling from God that he had, and for obeying, the calling, because without him and without the Lord, like, I would not be where I am today. I gave Pastor Doug a call, met him at the coffee shop, but I was still a little nervous. Like, it's a year-long program. You don't get to keep your phone. I'm still on drugs at the time, when I met him. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to do this? I thought back to that conversation that I had with God. And I was like, oh, okay, so you're real, okay. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Forever doubting it. I kept dwelling on this whole phone thing. Like, people are addicted to their phones. Like, I'm on my phone all the time playing games, I'm watching videos, all kinds of stuff. Like, what am I gonna do for a whole year without that? Like, that's an addiction in itself, And so, I feel like the Lord told me, you've been out here serving the devil, pretty much, giving your body away to all these people left and right. And where has that gotten you? I'm asking you to give me 1 year, and see what I can do. And so I said, all right. So I had to go to a 45-day program. They don't just take people into their program just for security reasons. Like, if you have a pimp still, if you've got people after you, if you whatever, just to keep their home safe, they make sure you go into a 30 to 45-day program prior. So I could not get into any of the programs. Like, I would call, you needed to be abused within the last 6 months. I hadn't been. This other one, you had to be clean for 2 weeks. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all these doors closing in my face. And so, believe it or not, it's kind of crazy. Okay, so I was like, okay, so I have to be clean for 2 weeks for this one. Okay, it was in Orange County, Fullerton. All right, now I need to get out of the hotel room. I've been living in this hotel room for 2 years. Okay, Pastor Doug paid for a week for me to be in this hotel room so that I wouldn't have to work and I could get everything together and I could get clean, is what he wanted me to do. After that week was up, I hadn't gotten clean. I went and got a storage. I put all my belongings in storage. I was completely ready to be out of that hotel, and I could not do it on a come down. So I continued to keep using. So at that point, I think Pastor Doug got a little discouraged, because I'm sure he's probably been used by a lot of girls that, pay, like, he just pays for your hotel room for a week. You know what I mean? Like, maybe I was just using him to get my hotel room paid. Who knows? I think he was a little discouraged because he was like, kind of threw up his hands at that point. And I was like, no, I'm going to show him that this is what I want. I want this. So I called up one of my regulars, okay? This guy that has always looked out for me. I had an abscess on my tooth. He paid for my medication. We would sit and chat and talk. We'd have a lot of fun. It wouldn't even be all about the sex part of it. Had money, he was well off. Just a really nice guy. And so I thought, I'm going to throw it out there, I'm thinking about changing my life. Is there any way that I could possibly stay at your house for like 2 weeks? Just so that I could get completely clean. I could be out of the motel room. I don't have to worry about working. I don't have to worry about anything. Just focus on getting clean. And he said yes. And so I was like, praise God. I got everything ready. He came and picked me up, took me to his house. I slept for days. He was so good. Like, he was an angel. He did not try to touch me. He did not ask me for anything in return. All he asked is that I got clean and then I got into this program. And that was such a blessing. Like, he would make me dinner. He would come in and check, are you okay in here? You know what I mean? Like, he slept on the couch and I took his master bedroom. Yeah, he was such a good guy. I still thank God for him to this day. After I had been clean for about a week, I got into the program in Orange County. It was because WTLC, they won't let anybody drop them off directly at the facility to keep it safe. So Pastor Doug dropped me off at the police station. They came and picked me up from the police station and took me to the program, and I was so nervous. But it was so good. I loved it there. They had these classes. For every 5 classes you take, they would give you like a $30 gift certificate for like Walmart or Target or somewhere. And so then you got to walk down there and like buy whatever you wanted. They provided everything, like food. It was like a little 1-bedroom apartment with 2 bunk beds. It was awesome time. COVID hit during that time. Pastor Doug's like, no, we're not going to let this stop us. And so after the 45 days and me graduating from that program, I went into their program. The thing I loved about Magdalene Hope's program is that they focus on the one girl. So when you go into the program, I was the only girl in there. And they won't take in anybody else for at least 3 months. So that gives you time to heal before somebody comes in and it tries to disrupt, could possibly disrupt anything. But because of COVID, there was no girls really to be coming in. So I stayed there the whole time by myself with the facility director, who used to be, she's a survivor of human trafficking as well. Then when I graduated, I had done so well in the program that they asked me to become the facility director of the program as well. And so I said yes, and I was a facility director for 4 years. I got a grant that repaired my smile, as you can see. And I love being able to smile without missing teeth. People even like treat you much better when you're not missing teeth. It's crazy. I graduated from Summit Bible College with my associate's degree in biblical studies and my bachelor's degree in theology. I now work at a local coffee shop that is a nonprofit. They donate their profits to fight human trafficking and also homelessness. I also run the coffee truck for Magdalene Hope. It's called Rescue Grounds Coffee, where we can employ survivors and whatnot there as well. I'm on the board of directors of Magdalene Hope. Let me just tell you about the best part. God has blessed me with my relationships back with my kids. And oh my gosh, that is the best part. Like, my kids are so proud of me, and that feels so good to me that I cannot even describe how good it feels. My son that I called my mama's boy, we talk on the phone like at least once or twice a week for hours. And you know, it's just like, I love it. I love it so much. We just have such a good time. We spent last Christmas all together with my brother and my sister-in-law, and I finally got to just like thank them for everything that they've done and apologize for all the things that I put them through. They had just gotten married when they took my kids in. They didn't even have any kids of their own, and they took in 4 little boys. I couldn't appreciate it back then, but I appreciate it so much now. And it's so great to have like such a good relationship with my family. I just love it. That's the best blessing that I've received out of all of this. There are so many broken women stuck in a life of prostitution and so many misconceptions of how they've gotten there. Like, I would have to say that the majority of the women that have gotten there, it's due to an addiction. Devious traffickers will prey off of broken women, and before they know it, they have been coerced into doing things that they never thought that they would do. It doesn't matter if you come from a broken home or if you come from a good home like I did. For people that have children out there, just stay a part of your child's life. Don't give up on them. If they're in an addiction, just keep on being there for them. Not having my family in my life just opened up doors for the enemy just to come in and keep attacking me. I didn't have anybody that was there in my life like, no, you deserve better, you're worth it. So I just want to stress that to all the parents. Just stay a part of their life. Speak words of affirmation and life over them. And prayers work. It took one prayer for me to pray out to the Lord, and he helped me. You know, I'm not saying that he answers every prayer right away. It's all in his perfect timing, but your prayers do not go unheard. So I just want to thank Jesus. I want to thank the Holy Spirit. I want to thank Magdalene Hope and for all the people that believed in me. And I want to thank my kids for still allowing me to be a part of your life. And yeah, I love you all so much.